Ladies and gentlemen, Her Imperial Highness Takamado will honor us with her presence. Please rise and welcome her as she will take her seat on the gallery section. Thank you very much for coming. We would like to start officially the World Amateur Orchestra Forum in Shizuoka 2022 with the presence of Her Imperial Highness Takamado. Today in the audience, we have people coming representing the instructors and representatives of amateur orchestras of 10 countries and regions, as well as the members of the steering committee of Japan Amateur Orchestra, as well as the members of the general public who are supporting the amateur orchestra activities in Japan. Today's forum theme is Universality in the Orchestra, Striving Toward a New Horizon. I hope that this place will be a significant forum as we can discuss the future of amateur orchestra in terms of the international exchanges with keynote addresses and panel discussions on the question of universality. Belatedly, let me introduce myself. I am Shuji Mori, who is the Deputy President of NPO-WFAO. First of all, on behalf of the hosting organization, I will ask Mr. Goro Kamino, President of NPO-World Federation of Amateur Orchestra, to deliver his opening remarks. Thank you very much for your kind introduction. I am Kamino, President of NPO-World Amateur Orchestra Federation. It is a great honor and I'd like to speak in English, although it is not excellent.
I'm Goro Kamino, President of NPO-World Amateur Orchestra Federation. It's a great honor to host the World Amateur Orchestra Forum in Shizuoka today in the presence of Her Imperial Highness Princess Takamado, and Governor Kawakatsu of Shizuoka Prefecture. On behalf of the organizer, I would like to convey a few words. We welcome 20 people from 10 different countries around the world today. Welcome to Japan, all. I would like to share with you 3 factors of orchestra which I consider particularly important. Connection, appreciate and accept difference, and cooperation. The orchestra can widely and deeply connect people all over the world, transcending time, national borders, gender, and generations through the universal language of music. Through the exchange of hearts and minds, the orchestra can produce rich sound that transcends national borders. And finally, all the members must work together to produce the sound, and musical harmony is essential. The theme of today's forum is University in the Orchestra, striving towards a new horizon. Since we wanted to consider the significance of orchestra activities and purpose, the universality in the orchestra. First part of the forum is education utilizing orchestra, and Dr. Duncan from Kenya will deliver the keynote speech followed by panel discussion. We also share video message from India and Colombia. The second part is about orchestra activities and their connection with society. And Miss Elena Lahonda, founder of the New York Red Starter String Orchestra, will deliver the keynote speech followed by the panel discussion. The last part, amateur orchestra activities from the next generation will performances and the panel discussion by young people who will lead the future. I would like to open this forum by expressing my sincere hope that this forum will be an opportunity for you to experience the passion of many exhausted people engaged in orchestra activities around the world, and that this forum will be an opportunity for you to aim for new horizon that will lead to the future. Thank you very much.
Kamino 会長、ありがとうございました。引き続き
President Kamino, thank you very much. We will go to part 1. The part 1 has the theme of education utilizing orchestra. We have keynote speech and panel discussion. At keynote speech, we have a speaker from Kenya, Dr. Duncan Miano Wambugu, lecturer, Department of Music and Dance at Kenyatta University, music director, Safaricom Youth Orchestra. Please welcome him with your big round of applause.
Her Royal Highness, Princess Takamado, the Governor of Shizuoka Prefecture, the Chairman of the Shizuoka Prefecture Assembly, the President of NPO NPO-WFAO, President, WFAO, the organizers of this great festival and event, fellow participants, fellow musicians, ladies and gentlemen, konnichiwa. I would like to greet you in Swahili. And if I say hamujambo, the response is hatujambo. Hamujambo. Hamujambo. Thank you. That is just asking, how are you? It is indeed a great and tremendous honor for me to be here today and to be part of the World Federation Amateur Orchestra Forum in Japan and celebration of the 50th Japanese Amateur Orchestra Festival. It's not lost to me that the Japanese Amateur Orchestra Festival has been in existence before I was even in existence. I am therefore honored to be asked to speak here as part of this festival that is actually older than I am. I have also never met or spoken in front of royalty. And so it is a double honor for me today to speak in front of Her Imperial Highness, Princess Takamado. Allow me to bring greetings from all the orchestras in Kenya, which I am a part of, as they are also celebrating with you from across the pond. And there are also the greetings from the organizations and that support the orchestral work in Kenya, the Art of Music Foundation and Safaricom PLC. I will today be talking about orchestral music in Kenya, and particularly as it relates to music education in the country. I would like to take all of you on a Kenyan journey, orchestral journey, from its origins, through its developments, its current status within the educational sphere, and finally share some thoughts on what I would hope would be the future of orchestral music, orchestral instruction music education in Kenya and hopefully the world. Allow me to use the orchestra sonata form as subtitles for this journey: exposition, development, and recapitulation. The development of the orchestral music in Kenya can be dated to the years after First World War in the early 1900s. Orchestral music, as any other foreign elements in Kenya, were brought about by the early British settlers and First World War veterans who are returning to the colony after the war. From the genesis of a small orchestra made of war veterans, there currently exists over 5 major orchestras in Kenya, performing a wide variety of audiences and making a great impact in various aspects of society. Over time, this genre of music developed from a seemingly genre for the elite of society to a transformational society, social education, and economically viable genre of music, accepted by a wider spectrum of society. The growth of orchestral music in Kenya has also seen the growth of what we call Kenyan orchestral art music, with Kenyan composers writing and companies and individuals commissioning works for these orchestras. Some of these orchestras today are also a leadership training opportunity for Kenyan youth through music, as well as bringing about social and economic changes to the underprivileged members of our society. Despite this growth in orchestras, orchestral music and orchestral performances, instrumental music, and in this case, orchestral music has never been included nor acknowledged within the mainstream educational system in Kenya. Vocal music seems to be the main focus in terms of music expression within the education system. This is in line with the popular view that Kenya is actually a singing nation as opposed to a playing nation. Even the musicologists and ethnomusicologists who study the history of music and research on cultural music of the country, respectively, have decried the lack of focus on traditional instrumental music education. So in terms of the development, from the previous education systems to the current educational systems, the previous education system, in 1984, some 38 years ago, the Kenyan government changed the education system from what was known as 763, which translated to 7 years of primary education, 6 years of high school education, including A-levels, and 3 years of university or tertiary education. The new education system was labeled 844, which, following the previous trend, was 8 years of primary school, 4 years of high school, and 4 years of university education. Majority of Kenyans today, including myself, went through the 844 system of education. At the end of each stage of education, excluding in university, all students would sit a national examination that would then place them for the next level of education. From the onset, the 844 system of education favored the learning of the arts, which included music, fine art, and crafts. In this system, music in primary school was actually a compulsory subject, a compulsory and examinable subject, while in secondary school, it was actually an optional or elective subject. The students going through high school would have already had 8 years of music education, which was predominantly theory-oriented. The practical or experiential music experienced at primary school was mainly singing or vocal music. The playing of musical instruments was actually limited to simple woodwind instruments, for example, the recorder, which was inexpensive and easily accessible. In high school, music education was an optional and elective and would be learned by only those choosing to pursue music education. This therefore limited the number of students to actually a handful of students, since there were other elective subjects to be taken. However, for those who chose music, their experiential or practical music experience was also limited to what they had learned in primary school, which was vocal or recorder music. For the students fortunate enough to have the opportunity to choose other instruments, there were limited few high schools that had capacity and the resources for these instruments. There are also numerous private schools at both levels that offer instrumental music education at individual levels. The schools provide the infrastructure to have private music lessons, as well as hire private instrumental tutors to teach these students. This, in Kenya, is what is commonly known as peripatetic teaching. Whereas the system of education provides the individual instrumental lessons, the schools rarely combined the instruments available to form possible instrumental ensembles, including the orchestras. In the year 2000, the government then changed the policy on music education and removed the compulsory nature of music education in primary schools, while still maintained the elective option in high school. This change of policy therefore stunted the development of music education in high schools, as students would experience music for the first time at high school. This further then had a trickle-down effect to those pursuing music education in the universities. Then our theme 2 came in the new education system. In 2018, the government of Kenya, under different leadership then, as before, embarked on changing the education system to suit the needs of the new emerging trends in society, including economic, social, and technological aspects. The new system incorporated was known as competency-based curriculum, otherwise known as CBC, in which Differentiated learning, diversity, and inclusion is the basis of the organization of the curriculum content and instructional approaches in the 3 tiers of learning, which are academic, vocational, and talent areas. This curriculum ensures that all students' strengths are catered for in all the learning areas, which includes music. This new curriculum is also based on 3 levels: pre-primary and lower level, middle school, which is grades 7 to 9, and senior school, which comprises grades 10 to 12. The CBC curriculum goes beyond the traditional IQ assumptions of single intelligences and employs multiple intelligences theory. From a general and in-depth look at the new system of education, this system is then poised to favor education in the arts, and especially in specialized areas like music education. The element of ensuring competencies, which has been the cornerstone of instrumental music education, is now a major component of the curriculum, adding to the strength of the advocacy of instrumental music in schools. This would therefore lead to the development of ensemble music in schools in which the orchestra then would flourish. The third theme is the Kenya Music Festival. In Kenya, we boast of hosting the largest competitive festival in Africa, known as the Kenya Music Festival. In this festival, tens of thousands of students participate at various levels of the festival that runs from zonals all the way to nationals. The festival incorporates all levels of learning from kindergarten to universities. Despite the former education system, the festival still flourished as a key music experiential avenue of music expression for all those within the education system. Among the many categories found in this competitive festival are the classes that include instrumental music, both individual and ensemble. Excuse me. The categories include all families of instruments, from all stringed instruments, woodwind, brass, percussion, ensembles of single family instruments, and orchestras. Over time, due to the individual lessons, as we talked about in the peripatetic teaching, readily available for students, the competition at the festivals in these categories has tremendously grown, not only in numbers, but also in the level of musicianship. This festival, the Kenya Music Festival, in terms of education, therefore provides the students an opportunity to play and get back feedback from accomplished adjudicators, therefore enabling them to grow in their craft. In the public school education system, this is the one avenue, therefore, that instrumental music education is therefore acknowledged. Going forward, while from the above I have discussed, it shows that officially orchestral music education does not really exist, nor is it supported in the public or private schools education system. It is our hope that with the new education system and with the availability of funds, this will one day be a reality. Despite this, there have been organizations that have seen the importance of orchestral music education and have set up various orchestras across the country. These are generally geared towards the youth who do not have these opportunities while in high schools. These orchestras include the Ghetto Classics Orchestra, the National Youth Orchestra of Kenya, both under which are under the auspices of the Art of Music Foundation, the Safaricom Youth Orchestra under Safaricom, and the Kenya Conservatoire of Music under the Kenya Conservatoire of Music. All these orchestras have been formed to fill the very vital gap of orchestral music education. This gap is important and beneficial to the education system as it develops not only the musical skills, but many other non-musical skills, as well as that are key to the growth of and development of school-going children. These benefits include, but are not limited to, as a source of motivation and development and development of element of responsibility. Orchestral music helps in the development of new friendships and therefore improve on social skills. Orchestral music is an avenue for stress relief and increased enjoyment. It is used for development of teamwork in terms of cooperation, collaboration, sympathy, and empathy. It also gives an opportunity for career aspirations. It helps improve cognitive skills through concentration, visual recognition, eye-hand coordination, increased creativity, IQ, and memory. It helps build perseverance and a sense of achievement. It helps develop character and confidence. It is interesting to note that the above benefits of orchestral music education also align very well with the current CBC education system, which I have talked about. And the CBC has 7 core competencies in the education system. These are communication and collaboration, critical thinking and problem solving, imagination and creativity, citizenship, learning to learn, self-efficacy, and digital literacy. In conclusion, it is therefore our sincere hope and prayers that in this new education system, the CBC, the Kenyan education system will realize the importance of orchestral music education and its alignment to the education system. Therefore, we urge the encouragement and ingraining of orchestral music education within the mainstream education system as it embodies both musical and non-musical benefits to the students in all levels of schooling. Thank you very much. Asante sana.
Participating in a panel discussion. Thank you very much for your valuable presentation. Thank you.
Next
is panel discussion 1. The 4 panelists will discuss on the universality and future of orchestras under the theme of the use of orchestras in education. If there's time left, we would like to receive your questions later. The moderator is Mr. Joe Yamaji, Director of NPO-World Federation of Amateur Orchestras. Mr. Yamaji.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Joe Yamaji. Welcome to the first part of the panel discussion. I have a question. When you hear the word youth, what comes to mind? Passion, energy, tirelessness, rich imagination, and so on. We have 4 outstanding panelists who are involved with the youth daily. Let me introduce them to you. From right to left, Yuin from Singapore, and Henrik from Norway, Sori from Taiwan, and our keynote speaker, Duncan. In the first part of the panel discussion, we will explore the universality. This is the subject of this forum with the panelists and the audience. Due to the time constraints of the panel discussion today, I have already asked the 3 questions for panelists, and I have already received the feedback on them. So I will ask the panelists to introduce those as we proceed. Let's get started. The first question is, for the youth, what is the learning from orchestral activities? Put another way, what do we expect our youth to learn through orchestral activities? Let us start with a presentation on the issue by Yuin from Singapore, please.
Thank you for the introduction, Joe. Konnichiwa. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sue, and I manage the Singapore National Youth Orchestra. Before I go into my response on the topic that's being presented, I would like to share a little on the context of the Singapore National Youth Orchestra, SNYO. The SNYO is considered an extracurricular activity for the students in public schools. This is because the public schools in Singapore do not have full orchestras. Most of the public schools in Singapore may have a string ensemble or a concert band, so the string players play on their own, and the wind players also play on their own. And for youth musicians who want to play in a setting where you have a full orchestra, they can only come to the National Youth Orchestra. So we take in students who are in the primary school, secondary school, as well as in the pre-university level, aged from 10 to 21. We run 2 orchestras, a junior orchestra, as well as a main orchestra. Those who are in high school can join the orchestra and get participation points that go towards them getting into pre-university as well as university. Because we are part of the system that is recognizing them for their participation in school, we also have come under the supervision of the Ministry of Education. And on that basis, I'm going to share with you the Ministry of Education's framework to illustrate my answer to the question, what is the learning of youth orchestra musicians? And this is the framework that I will go through to talk about. In terms of the outcome, if you look at the outer circle, the outcome of the curricular activities, extracurricular activities in Singapore should be that of a self-directed learner, an active contributor, a concerned citizen, as well as that of a confident person. And in that respect, the 21st century competencies are civic literacy, global awareness, cross-cultural skills, critical and inventive thinking, communication, collaboration, and information skills. And then we also talk about some of the social and emotional competencies that need to be achieved when students go through these programs. And those are being self-aware, being able to do self-management, being able to have responsive decision-making, social awareness, as well as the ability to do relationship management. I think most of you in the orchestra field would immediately understand how and what are those activities that happen within an orchestra rehearsal and performance setting that relate to some of these dimensions that I've talked about. And at the core of these is a set of core values, and those are respect, responsibility, integrity, care, resilience, and harmony. That really represents what the Ministry of Education expects out of student outcomes when they participate in extracurricular activities. Next, I want to share the outcomes that the SNYO aims to achieve for our members. You can see that there are 4 categories of outcomes that we look at, but I want to focus on the character development of those outcomes, as we feel that that is one of the most important elements of youth orchestra musician participation. You can see that there's a natural mapping of the core framework that I had shared earlier with actual what we want to achieve under the character development in the orchestra. Let me explain. Under the musician values, it kind of translates to the core values that I had mentioned before: respect, responsibility, integrity, care, resilience, and harmony. And in terms of life and social skills, it does translate as well into the social and emotional competencies such as self-awareness, being responsible, making decisions, and doing relationship management with different people. And then the curiosity and lifelong learning skills, again, naturally map into the 21st century competencies that I had mentioned before: civic literacy, global awareness, cross-cultural skills, critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and information skills. And last of all, in terms of professional identity, we hope that we can help musicians find their own voice, find their own personality, and understand what it means to be, a member of the community, a member of society, and of course, a citizen of the greater world. Many of you who work in the orchestra industry will understand that playing in an orchestra is a highly complex activity involving listening, understanding, adjusting, decision-making, knowing when to lead, knowing when to follow, and understanding where one fits into the bigger picture. There is a lot of self-directed learning that happens when a youth musician sits in the orchestra setting. They need to have discipline, they need to have determination, they need to show teamwork, they need to have time management skills, and lastly, they need to learn how to interact and socialize with others. I hope that with this sharing of the frameworks of outcome in this presentation, it can support further thinking on how young musicians who participate in orchestral activities can develop and learn and grow as a musician and as a person, a human being. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sue. Sorry, do you have any opinion?
Sorry about that. I came from Taiwan. Sorry, John is my name.
As by Shui's organized explanations and opinions. My orchestra is a private orchestra. We have about 100 members, ranging from children with no previous instrument experience to college students. We are not a national organization like Singapore, so we have so difficult in finances, management, and recruiting members. However, the direction of character building through orchestra activity is the same as Singapore. We had educated many talented individuals in the 12 years since the orchestra was established. We have also participated in JAL Festival and TYOC. Before COVID-19, the orchestra has been going abroad every year to interact with youth from other countries, such as Japan, Korea, Australia, Estonia, France, and Spain. I received good news before I come into Japan. Mr. Liu, a former concertmaster who participated in JAL Festival and TYOC, became an official member of the Bavarian State Opera Orchestra in Germany, start from September 1st. Now, the orchestra concertmaster started 10 years ago with absolutely zero experience, and now a medical school student. So I can say a youth orchestra also an inclusive place for diversity. Finally, I believe there's no doubt the orchestra activities has a rich effect on the character development of young people. And that's my opinion. 以上、ありがとうございました。
Okay, thank you. Duncan, please ask the one question to Sori and then Yuin.
Thank you, Joe. I think my one question that I would like to ask is, in your situations, then how does the education system support then the learning in the orchestras, or does it in one way or another?
I think I'll go first. As I had explained before, there is no orchestral education in the public school program. There are challenges as well. There is a low birth rate in Singapore, and one finds that schools are also merging. And because of that, even the extracurricular activities in school have had to merge. And it has an effect on performing arts programs, and of course, naturally, it will affect even smaller ensembles like string ensembles and concert bands. And what happens is that these programs sometimes get simplified. Instead of having a concert band, maybe a school can even shrink the program into a clarinet ensemble, for example. It is just easier to manage a single instrument ensemble. So we are finding it challenging in these circumstances, of course, to run an orchestra where you don't have a natural pool of players to come into the program. And therefore, there is a need when you have a national program or if you have a full orchestra to look at the ways where you can actually be growing and nurturing your own players for the orchestra in conjunction with what the school program can provide for you through an audition process.
How about Sori?
I think in Taiwan, the situation is quite similar to Singapore. So that's why I come to this forum. I want to get more experience from other countries. So I hope we can do better and better together in the future.
Okay, thank you. To summarize so far, I can say that we are providing some motivation to the youth through orchestral activity. Okay, now let's move on to the next question. For the youth, how will the learning be utilized in the future? I want to ask Henrik from Norway about this issue, but I would like to ask him to hear a question about his organization and himself. Henrik, how many orchestras are members of your organization?
Thank you, Joe. Konnichiwa. I'm from the Norwegian Youth Orchestra Association, so we are currently having 175 member orchestras, and in total we have approximately 5,500 members.
Okay, you are the vice president.
Correct,
exactly, right?
yes.
For example, being a vice president in Japan at such a young age is impossible. Yeah, you are 22. Is that confidence?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Okay. How are the president and the vice president selected in your organization? Just tell me. Yeah.
It's a very good question. In UNOF, we have a focus on having young presidents and vice presidents because we want to represent the actual group that are our members. We have members up until 26 years old, and we want to know and represent this kind of group, and then we have thought about having the president and vice president as young people. All our board members and the high executives are chosen and elected at our yearly meeting, and we have a election committee who is representing a recommendation for who is going to be elected, and then we have the election as well. And I think it's maybe different from what you have in Japan, because the vice president and the president in Norway are more representatives, and it's not our full-time job. We're doing other things beside. However, we are working and representing the board in different occasions, and we also do a lot of hands-on work for our members as well, in cooperation with our administration.
Okay, thank you. Let's get back to the main topic. So, what are your thoughts on my second question? Just tell me about your opinion about the second question.
Yes, thank you. I think the learning will be utilized in the future by giving all youth and children and all people the opportunity to have an experience with an orchestral activity. We as music organizations around the world should work together towards making music education available for everyone. Because we see that music education is not only educating youths and people to play music, but we also make them be very cooperative, open-minded human beings. And that's maybe one of the most important things for us in Norway, is that even if the youths are choosing an alternative path, or if they are choosing a non-musical career, we still see that their experience they have from playing in an orchestra, in an ensemble, is very important for their lives. Because we see that they are very good in their community. They do a lot with our other people, and they cooperate in a different way. And I think it's important that we focus on giving them these opportunities, and I think we should let the young people have the opportunities as and give them responsibility to act on behalf of orchestras, and to give them things to do, like we give them responsibility and we give them tasks that they can manage. And I think we don't have to be afraid, and we cannot be afraid of letting the youth and the young generation come through. And I think we need to see that even if we think that the youth may do a worse work, or they cannot do as an adult, we still need to give them the opportunity and to give them responsibility, because this is the next generation. This is the new generation that will be acting in our world. They are going to continue with what we have done, and they will develop and continue our mission as human beings, to say it very large. And I think we should facilitate and make opportunities available for everyone, even if they have different economic situation, different background, ethnicity, and so on. And in Norway, we are working very hard toward this goal. We're working towards everyone to get the opportunity to be in an ensemble, in an orchestra, or in a musical activity. And we see that we have some difficulties, especially with some cultural and ethnicity backgrounds, because some people tend to see that cultural experience is not comparable to the monetary and economical profits. And when politicians and diplomats see that the musical experience or the cultural experience does not generate any profit or any money, it is not important to them. And it's very important, I think yes, I can't underline it enough, that we need to show everyone that the cultural profits is much more valuable than the monetary and profitable than the economical profits. So I think to conclude, in the future, we should look for the youths, we should take care of them, and we should give them all the responsibility, and we cannot be afraid of having failure, of having a worse result than if an experienced person, but only the youth can gain the experience if we can give them the experience. If we do not give the youth the experience, they won't have the experience when they are going up. So we need to see that the youth are very important for us, and we should really continue with our development, and we should follow the modernization of processing, and we should keep an eye on the development in the world, and we need to go with the flow. If we are waiting or stalling at some point, we are failing. So we need to always continue to watch how the world develops. Arigato gozaimashita.
Thank you very much, Henrik. Duncan, do you have any opinion on this issue?
Thank you, Joe. I would agree 100% with Henrik and what he said. For me, I think I look at the question in in a very different way. Perhaps how will the learning of orchestras be done in the future? I think that's how, I mean, there's a benefits, that is true, but going forward, how will it happen? So for me, I would say we can actually not run away from the use of technology. And Corona has taught us that. When the world shut down, we looked at technology in order to how to move forward. And so I think for the orchestras, embracing perhaps the use of technology and what the future brings is one way to go. And future learning will all happen with a lot of technology. And I think going forward as orchestras, as organizationals that work with orchestras, perhaps we now need to look at how we can infuse the use of technology going forward, because we cannot run away from it. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you ask them one question?
Since Henrik and Duncan have spoken on two different pathways and two different perspectives in their answers to the question, I will pose two different questions to each of them. So for Henrik, can you tell us anything new or different that you would like to implement for your organization for the future? And for Duncan, what do you think will be lost in the use of technology to deliver music and music education programs? Yeah.
Okay, Henrik first.
Thank you for the great question. It's a very hard question to answer because we cannot see the future, unfortunately not. But I think we need to think more outside the box. The activity we are doing, the orchestral activity, is a very old, traditional activity, and there are some very heavy traditions in what we are doing, and that is maybe the base of what we do, and it's very important. However, I think we need to develop them and modernize some of the things we are doing. And in our organization, we need to rethink how we can recruit to our member orchestras. How can we reach out to the young people, to the generation that is growing up now, that is going to be born now, because they are born in a different world than even when I was young. It's very different for what is now. Now it's technology, now everyone has their faces in their iPhones, everyone is looking at digital solutions, and I think we need to rethink the way of thinking about how we can appeal to our next generation. So I think our organization needs to modernize, but I also think we need to really think original and outside of the box.
Thank you. Duncan?
Thank you. Again, very difficult question. And I agree with Henrik, we need to think outside the box as we go forward. But even as we think outside the box and we use, as I said, use technology, there are certain aspects that we may perhaps need to focus on such that we don't lose. One of the things that the orchestras do is there's the social aspect of the orchestras, the friendships, the social, the improving of social skills. Those are some of the aspects that with one-on-one, it's there, right? When you meet in orchestras, it's there. But even though we use technology, then we begin to lose that. Henrik just said that, we are buried in technology. We are buried our faces in the iPad and the phone. So that is one aspect. As we embrace technology, we need to find a way in which these aspects of friendships and socialness, is still included in that. But also other aspects of collaboration, cooperation. The empathy, the sympathy, again, is one of those aspects that we tend to lose when we use technology. So as we go forward, even as we embrace technology, we still need to think outside the box and find a way in which still use technology, but still incorporate some of these aspects that we may lose. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Before we move to last question, I want to show a video message from Colombia. It's an example of how we motivate youth through orchestral activities, which are powerfully developed into new creations.
It's a pleasure to be here and to be part of this forum. Thank you to the organization for inviting us. My name is Juan Andrés Rojas Castillo. I am a cultural manager and currently the executive director of the Colombian National Youth Symphony Orchestra, Filarmónica Joven de Colombia, as well as board member of the WFAO, or Federation of Amateur Orchestras. And it is a pleasure to be here and to share with you a little bit more information about the orchestra. The Colombian National Youth Orchestra, Filarmónica Joven de Colombia, is a project fostered by a private foundation in Colombia who has worked for more than 12 years now in promoting the level in terms of classical music in Colombia and also promoting this music education in a very high level all around the country. The Filarmónica Joven de Colombia reunites the best and standing musicians all over the country every year, more than 100 that are part of the orchestra and that actually plays in the orchestra in a very high quality and very challenging residencies and artistic projects with tours in Colombia, Europe, and United States for now and for 12 years. This orchestra is a huge power in the country because it represents the whole effort of Colombia in terms of classical music. And we work together with these young people to continue trying new formats, new repertoires, new challenges in terms of careers in music. During the year, they participate in the orchestra with orchestral activities, but also we work with them in strengthening their skills in cultural entrepreneurship, arts management, music education, innovation, social skills, soft skills, and how they can share all their knowledge with the kids all around the country. We have a program where they are volunteering and they are helping us promoting this level in the most remote regions. And for now we have been working with more than 2,000 kids in Colombia to improve the whole level. So that's why the orchestra really trusts and believes in the orchestral practice as a very powerful tool to promote changes of mindset, changes in institutions, in the whole ecosystem of classical music, and to promote this curiosity in young people of changing their own mindset, of promoting their own skills, on working together, building capacities, building teamwork, thinking about them as a country, as an orchestra of the country, and not an individual. And for us, those are values that are very important, that you are always working in the orchestral practice. And of course, for us, these are also spaces to innovate and to create new things, new formats with young musicians. That's the future of learning in orchestral activities, because when you are changing an individual, you're changing the whole system. That's why for so many years now, we've been working new ways of understanding performances with the Filarmónica Joven de Colombia. And now, our musicians are not just playing at very high quality, but they are also performing a choreography during our concerts, during our interpretation of Stravinsky's Petrushka or The Rite of the Spring. And that's a way of seeing this orchestral practice also as a social innovation lab to try new formats, new ways of sharing music, new ways of transferring this music and sharing this music with communities, with new audiences, and how we also work with these young generations in the future of classical music. That's a very important part of these orchestral activities in terms of youth orchestras and projects with young people, because we are all the future of classical music and we need to get them involved in this future. And that's the reason why orchestral activities in nationwide are extremely important. That's what I think that also if we work together, if we continue cooperating together worldwide in this kind of mindset and in this kind of new vision of classical music together, will allow us to evolve this art of the orchestra. And that's why we really thank this opportunity of being part of the forum and to share our knowledge, our experience, and some of our videos and performances, so you can see what's happening in Colombia, and then we can have discussions about the future of classical music worldwide, not only in Latin America, but also in Asia and Europe, and we can work together to really evolve and improve the art of the orchestra and to face those challenges that we all know that we have now. So thank you so much for inviting me, and of course you can count on us in Colombia to continue sharing all our experiences and cooperating with you. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Hacia allá queda Berlín, queda Europa, allá es donde quiero llegar yo.
Quiero ser músico. Cuando toco música siento que soy libre.
Estábamos en un taller.
Con la Filarmónica Joven de Colombia. Tuvimos la oportunidad de compartir con ellos.
Una experiencia muy chévere, nueva para nosotros, por encontrarnos con músicos con alto nivel.
Y nos contaron sus experiencias, cómo ellos persiguen sus sueños y cómo llegaron a la orquesta.
Tienen una forma muy como didáctica para llevarnos con las cosas.
En Popayán yo soy el director de 2 de las orquestas, de la infantil y de la juvenil. Los muchachos con los que trabajo, digamos que se van a ver beneficiados de algún u otro modo, pues porque la gracia del conocimiento no es como que aprendí una cosa y me la quedo para mí, sino que hay que transmitir ese conocimiento a las demás personas, si no hasta ahí queda.
Sorry, as well as this youth orchestra, your organization is 12 years old. So how did you feel when you watched this video? Just tell me, simply.
本当すごいですね。
Awesome, indeed, very awesome.
Yeah, incredible, I think. Yeah, because my orchestra is also a youth orchestra. Just I watching this video, I can only imagine how much patience Joa and the orchestra staff are using for the youth behind this. I'm very interested to see where this youth will go in the future. Thank you.
I totally agree. Okay, what will happen to these youth in the future? So let's move on the last question. What is the future of orchestral activity in the youth? So let us imagine the vision of the orchestra in 5 or 10 years. So I'll give you 3 minutes and 30 seconds. So you can discuss whatever you want. So who will first? Yuin?
Can you repeat the question again?
Yes. Let us imagine the vision of the orchestra, youth orchestra, in 5 or 10 years. Last question. Yes.
I think that I would have answered differently if COVID did not happen. And I do want to address it because many people working in the performing arts, not just youth orchestra members, but also professionals, tutors, teachers, performers, they were affected by the closure of concert halls all over the world. And I would like to address that. After something like that happens, it is very deep in our hearts that we were not able to express a part of ourselves. And I think before we think about the future, whether it's the use of technology, whether we want to do something different, we have to also take care of the soul and look for ways to heal ourselves, and also for the youths that have been affected by this disruption in their growth and development, that we find ways to make sure they bridge the gap. So many players, particularly the wind players, have not been able to participate in large-scale activities for 2 years, and this is a window of opportunity that they have lost and they will never get back. And I think whenever we think about what we do in the future, we have to think that there is a little bit of a break in this pipeline in the whole ecosystem. And while I think we do need to look out of the box, we do need to innovate, we do need to use technology, that a little bit part of us need to know that people have had different experiences going through this period where our voices were shut. And we also need to think about ways that we can help to embrace that as part of our future.
How about Henrik?
Yeah, I totally agree with what you are saying. And some people say that in the future everything will be digital. However, I will disagree with that because I don't think we as human beings can be all digital. Orchestras cannot play together online, even if they have the technology, even if they have no delays, and even if they have the technology to do things together. We as human beings need to have interaction with each other. We need to develop our cooperation skills with other human beings, and we need to see each other, to feel each other together and work together towards a goal. And I think we'll miss a lot of that when we do things digital. I think we are losing a lot of what we have in our nature, and it is important to keep that in mind when we do something. Of course, it is a possibility to have things online because it makes things easier and so on, but I still think that the orchestra as a unit will continue as a physical unit in the future.
Thank you. Finally, a new movement has recently begun in South Asia in orchestral activities for youth. I want to introduce it to you. Ambassador Lau currently lives in Washington, D.C., and she sent us a special video message. So please watch this video.
Hi, my name is Nirupama Rao, and I'm here to talk about my project to create a South Asian symphony orchestra. South Asia is a vast region comprising 8 countries, starting with Afghanistan, and then we move to Pakistan, India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, and the Maldives. And this vast region is troubled by a number of political differences and a lack of communication and connectivity. What I'd like to see develop in the region is far more coexistence and cooperation. And one of the means of such cooperation is to get young people together from the region, talented young people who play music, and to form a symphony orchestra, a philharmonic orchestra. And the idea of the project is to scout for talent, to nurture and foster such talent, and to enable the expression of such talent. We are planning to have music workshops to train talented young musicians, to give them the opportunity to be exposed to the best teaching, and also to organize performances of symphonic music, which will not only include Western classical compositions, but also the music of South Asia. Orchestras are wonderful creations because it's through orchestras that people who come together to perform in an orchestra learn to listen to each other, to overcome ignorance, to understand that they can create harmony together. And that harmony is very important in the world of today, when divisions and when ignorance tend to keep people apart. Separation cannot be an answer to our problems. We have to think in our own little way, through modest means, to try and bring people together, because that really is the meaning of being human.
We are running out of time. So, Duncan, could you please briefly describe your conclusion? If possible, including the word universality. It's a very big challenge.
Well, I think a lot has been said here this afternoon. First is to thank you, Joe, as our moderator, for taking us through this session. Is to say thank you to my fellow panelists for your great insights into this. And in conclusion, what I would say is our theme for this forum, I can break it up into two aspects. So in terms of the universality of the orchestra, and I've used the word universality, we find universality through the music that we play. I think it's a common way in which we come together through the music we play. But even in discussions today, we find the universality of the orchestra through our common experiences in administration, in management of these orchestras. So in terms of that universality of the orchestra, I think that we've covered. As we strive towards a new horizon, I believe what has come out here is the fact that we need to embrace technology for convenience, yet we still need to think outside the box, but still keep the traditions of what the orchestra is all about. And for our panel, the topic of our panel here, I think the orchestra then, in conclusion, is important for education, it's important in education, and it's important towards education. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yuin, Henrik, Sori, Duncan, thank you so much. Let's give a big round of applause to those panelists. Thank you very much for listening. ご清聴ありがとうございました。